You don't wake up one morning and decide to become a dark chosen one. You're born into it, selected before the world even had a name for you. And from the very beginning, everything feels different. You don't fit. You don't flow with the current. You see things others don't. You feel things others can't. And slowly you realize this isn't a curse, it's a contract. A sacred contract with the divine to carry a frequency that is not here to comfort, but to confront. And that confrontation doesn't start outside you, it begins within. And once it begins, your energy starts to shift in ways that most humans will never understand. The first shift is the collapse of false identity. This is the moment where everything you thought you were begins to burn. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in waves. Relationships fall apart, careers crumble, belief systems shatter. You try to hold on, but nothing sticks. And you wonder if you're losing your mind. But what's really happening is far more sacred. You're losing your mask. You're shedding every version of you that was built for survival, not truth. And it hurts. Not because it's wrong, but because it's working. The ego doesn't die quietly, it screams, it bargains, it pretends. But the deeper truth is this: your soul has outgrown the role you've been playing. And when your soul decides to rise, your old life begins to disintegrate. This energy shift feels like death, because in many ways it is. It's the psychic death of the inauthentic self. The part of you that was shaped by trauma, approval, fear, and programming. And as that self dies, something ancient awakens, something primal, something untamed. You begin feeling things in your body that don't belong to your mind. You become hyper-aware of subtle energies. You begin to sense people's intentions before they speak. And the world around you begins to feel like a theater, a stage filled with actors who don't know they're acting. And you, the dark chosen one, are sitting in the front row, seeing through every role, every lie, every illusion.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
But here's the brutal truth most won't tell you: this shift is lonely. Because the deeper you see, the fewer people you can talk to. Your frequency starts rejecting everything that isn't authentic. You try to go back, to pretend, to normalize, but it never works. The vibration doesn't fit anymore, and the universe won't let you downgrade. You walk into rooms and feel the dissonance instantly. You hear someone talk and feel the lie behind their words. Not because you're special, but because you're attuned. You've been recoded to carry consciousness in a world asleep in comfort. And that consciousness comes with a cost. Let me ask you something that might cut deeper than you're ready for. What parts of your identity are you still attached to, even though you know they're killing your power? Because that's where the resistance lives. That's where the pain is rooted. And until you let go of who you think you have to be, you will never become who you truly are. The first energy shift requires radical surrender, not the soft kind. The kind that rips everything false from your life and forces you to sit in the ashes and choose yourself again. Not the version that pleases people, not the version that performs. The one that remains when there's nothing left to hide behind. Once that false self collapses, the second energy shift begins, the activation of divine rage. This is not anger. This is not ego. This is sacred fire. It rises from the bones. It erupts from the soul. It doesn't destroy, it purifies. And it only comes to those who have been silent for too long. Those who have swallowed their truth to avoid rejection. Those who have dimmed their light to make others comfortable. This rage is not here to punish, it's here to liberate. It's the voice of your soul saying, I will not betray myself one more time. This energy shift electrifies your nervous system. You feel everything 10 times more. Injustice becomes unbearable. Manipulation becomes obvious. Lies become intolerable. And people start calling you intense, too much, confrontational. But you're not being confrontational, you're being clear. You're no longer available for anything less than full alignment. And you're no longer afraid to say no, to walk away, to burn bridges that were built on illusion. People will say you've changed, but the truth is, you've returned. Return to the fire you were born from, the fire that refuses to be tamed. This divine rage becomes a compass. It shows you where you've been compromising, where you've been tolerating what your soul never agreed to. And it teaches you that boundaries are not walls, they're declarations of self-respect. You stop explaining. You stop justifying. You stop seeking permission. And in that space, your energy becomes sovereign. You begin to realize that power isn't about control, it's about clarity. The clearer your energy becomes, the more the universe rearranges itself around you. And that brings us to the third energy shift, the collapse of external validation. You stop caring about being liked. You stop needing applause. You stop chasing approval. Because you've tasted something deeper than recognition, you've tasted truth. And once you taste truth, everything else becomes noise. You begin to see how much of your life was built on the need to be seen, understood, accepted. And now you see the trap. You see how easy it is to sell your soul for a round of applause. And you decide you'd rather be real than be liked. This shift is terrifying at first, because when you no longer seek validation, you also have to stop performing. You have to stop editing yourself. You have to stop pretending. And in that rawness, you discover something sacred. Your real self was never meant to be universally accepted. It was meant to be aligned with truth, or with purpose, with frequency. And when you live in alignment, you attract resonance, not applause. You attract people who see you without needing you to shrink. You attract opportunities that match your vibration, not your image. And slowly, you realize that the most dangerous energy in the world is a dark chosen one who no longer seeks validation, because they become uncontrollable. They speak truth without fear. They act from soul, not strategy. They move with a current that doesn't need the world's permission. And in that movement, they become a force of nature. Not because they're loud, but because they're undeniable. Let me ask you something now, and I don't want a surface-level answer. Where in your life are you still performing for love? Where are you still faking alignment just to avoid being alone? Because that's the next layer you must release. That's the next mask you must burn. The dark chosen ones are not here to be light. We're here to be mirrors. And mirrors don't flatter, they reveal. You came here to hold a frequency that exposes illusions. And you cannot do that if you're still addicted to being pleasing. This is the part of the journey where everything begins to feel surreal. You're not quite who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. You feel like you're floating between dimensions. One foot in the old world, one foot in the unknown. And that's exactly where you're meant to be. This is the threshold, the space between worlds. The initiation into the fourth energy shift, energetic sovereignty. You begin to understand that your energy is not random. It's sacred. It's currency. It's a portal. And you stop giving it to people, places, or patterns that drain you. You become meticulous about your environment. You become aware of every leak, every codependent tie, every energetic exchange that leaves you depleted. And you start cutting cords not from anger, but from clarity. You no longer entertain what doesn't feed your fire. You no longer try to fix what you didn't break. You no longer rescue people who are committed to their own cages. Your energy becomes your temple, and you protect it with warrior precision. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. You know who you are. You know what you carry. You know what you're here for. And you refuse to dilute it for anyone. People will call it selfish. But deep down, they feel the truth. You've activated something in them that they're not ready to face. And that's okay. You're not here to save anyone. You're here to be the truth. And the truth doesn't always comfort, it calls. Are you ready to protect your energy like your life depends on it? Because in a way it does. Your frequency is your most valuable asset, and the world will constantly try to harvest it. But the dark chosen ones are not harvestable. We are not for consumption. We are not here to entertain. We are here to anchor a new frequency on this planet, and that requires sovereignty, not walls, not isolation, but energetic mastery. The ability to hold your own vibration regardless of who or what enters your field. And that is the beginning of something sacred, something few ever reach. The final shift is coming, a shift that changes everything. When you arrive at the edge of energetic sovereignty, something deep begins to stir inside you. It's not loud. It doesn't explode. It's a quiet, undeniable hum, a vibration that starts to rise from the core of your being. You begin to feel yourself becoming something different, something ancient, something that cannot be explained in words but is instantly felt by anyone in your presence. And that's when the fifth energy shift begins, the one that only happens to true dark chosen ones, the embodiment of sacred duality. This is not just a shift, it's a complete reconfiguration of your energetic blueprint. It's where power meets surrender, where rage meets stillness, where darkness meets divinity without conflict. You no longer see light and dark as opposites. You no longer try to transcend your shadow. You become whole. You realize that the darkness within you is not a flaw, it is a force. It is the primal, untamed, uncolonized part of your soul that refused to be programmed by the world. It is the part of you that still remembers what you came here to do. And when you stop running from it, when you stop labeling it as wrong, it becomes your greatest ally. It becomes your edge, your clarity, your fire. The dark chosen ones are not afraid of their inner abyss. We enter it, we learn from it, we channel it into medicine. This embodiment of sacred duality is what makes us different. We don't pretend to be pure. We don't wear white robes to hide our wounds. We carry both sword and sage. We bless and we burn. We are the paradox that this world needs to remember, because this world is addicted to polarity. It wants to separate angels from demons, light from shadow, sacred from profane. But we know the truth, all of it is one. And until you can hold both without flinching, you are not free. You are still divided, still fragmented, still playing a role. So what does this shift really look like in your daily life? It looks like being able to love someone deeply while still walking away when your soul says it's time. It looks like holding space for others' pain without losing yourself in it. It looks like standing in your truth, even when it shakes the room. It looks like saying no with the same open heart with which you say yes. It looks like being fierce and tender in the same breath. This is not balance, it's integration. And it's the heart of real spiritual power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that liberates. But this shift will stretch you, because it demands that you stop hiding behind spiritual ideals. It demands that you stop trying to be good and start being true. And being true isn't always pretty. It means owning your darkness without shame. It means admitting that you've manipulated, projected, avoided, and blamed. It means facing the parts of you that are still hungry for power, still afraid of rejection, still addicted to control. And the moment you stop pretending, the moment you meet those parts with full presence, they stop running your life from the shadows. They become integrated into your wholeness. Let me ask you something now, and I want you to sit with this question like your life depends on it. What part of you have you been secretly judging while trying to appear evolved? Because that part is the key. That part holds a frequency that you've been rejecting, and until you reclaim it, you will remain at war with yourself. Sacred duality is not about fixing your darkness, it's about honoring it, seeing it as holy. Understanding that your shadow is not a deviation from your path, it is your path. The wound is the womb. The pain is the portal. The chaos is the chrysalis. And here's what happens next. When you embody sacred duality, your energy becomes magnetic. Not in a superficial way, not in a look-at-me way, but in a cellular way. People feel you before you speak. They sense the depth, the danger, the divinity. They don't know why, but they can't forget you. You become unforgettable not because of your image, but because of your frequency. You carry the resonance of someone who has walked through fire and turned the ashes into language. And that resonance cannot be faked. This is when the world starts to react to you differently. Some will be drawn in. Others will be repelled. But no one will be neutral. You are no longer energetically neutral. You are a mirror now. And mirrors don't just reflect, they reveal. You'll notice people either opening or closing in your presence. That's not your fault. It's your function. You weren't sent here to make people comfortable. You were sent here to awaken the dormant parts of their soul. And for that, you must stay true to yours, even when it costs you everything. And it will cost you. Let's not pretend otherwise. This level of embodiment will cost you comfort, relationships, illusions, and safety. But what you gain is far greater. You gain sovereignty. You gain clarity. You gain the ability to walk through this world untouched by its chaos because your inner world is no longer in conflict. You become the eye of the storm, the stillness in the spiral, the portal through which truth enters the room. And that is the real reward of walking the path of the dark chosen ones. You become the medicine you once searched for. But here's the twist. Once you reach this level, the work doesn't end. It deepens. The tests become more subtle, the lessons more nuanced. You're no longer battling obvious demons, you're fine-tuning your frequency to carry even more light through your darkness. And that requires discipline, not the rigid kind, in the sacred kind. The kind that says, I love myself too much to be out of alignment. The kind that holds you accountable to your highest self, even when no one is watching. The kind that doesn't wait for motivation because it's rooted in devotion. You begin to live in a different rhythm, one that's not dictated by society's pace. You move slower, deeper, more intentionally. You listen more. You speak less. You observe without judgment. You act without attachment. You begin to trust your energy more than your mind. Your intuition becomes your GPS, and you stop needing signs because you become one. You are the sign now. You carry codes in your aura that activate others just by being around them. And that activation is not always gentle. Sometimes it breaks people open. Sometimes it shatters their illusions. But it always leaves them closer to truth. And this is the true role of the dark chosen ones. We are not here to conform. We are not here to entertain. We are not here to be liked. We are here to transmit, to be walking reminders that the human spirit is not meant to be domesticated. That truth is not always soft. That healing is not always pretty. That freedom is found not in the light alone, but in the marriage of light and dark. And every step you take in that integration, you reclaim more of your soul's original power. So let me ask you this now, as we walk deeper into the final layer of this path. Are you willing to lose your old self completely in order to become the vessel your purpose requires? Because that's the level of surrender we're talking about. Not partial, not convenient, total. A surrender that rewrites your DNA. A surrender that dissolves everything you thought you needed. A surrender that terrifies your ego but sets your soul on fire. When you say yes to that level of surrender, the universe begins to move through you in ways you never imagined. You stop trying to make things happen. You start listening for what wants to be born through you. You become a channel, a conduit, a living altar. And your life becomes a ceremony. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything is sacred. Even the pain, even the loss, even the shadows that still whisper from time to time. Because now you don't run from them. You sit with them. You learn from them. You honor them. And in doing so, you become whole. Not half light, half dark, but fully human, fully divine, fully grounded, fully cosmic, fully fierce, fully soft. You are the paradox the world needs to remember. You are the flame and the void, the wound and the wisdom. You are the dark chosen one.